the essay question is, what factors made survival possible for Selva in A Long Walk to Water? Where do you think you're going to find survival factors that made it possible for him to survive? And what's that thing called? So your survival anchor chart has factors on it. You have all the things listed on the right-hand side, the different factors. So what you are going to do right now is you're going to help me brainstorm a list of possible factors for Selva that would help him survive. So, will I open up a place where I can type? Who has one factor that helped Selva to survive? Samantha. Help from others. Okay, so factor number one, help from others. We're going to make this a bulleted list so we can easily see it all. Okay, so help from others is one thing that we have. What else do we have? Jesse? Luck. Anybody else use luck as a factor? I will tell you that that's one of the ones, I'm not telling you it's necessarily better than the other ones, but that's one of the ones I like. Could somebody tell me one time in the book when he was lucky, instead of being skilled or getting help, that he was just flat out lucky? Aiden? Perfect. That's the first one. There's others too, but that's the first one I think of. When he crossed that river, part of it was skill and perseverance, and part of it was flat out luck that one of those bullets did not hit him. In fact, it hit the kid who was on his back and not him. He was lucky to get across. What else, Jaden? Good, yes. So that's another example of lucky. Let's go for some more factors. So look at the right-hand side of your sheet. What are some other factors? Let's try to get a big list for people to choose from. Samantha? Okay. Selva was strong. And next to this, I'm going to group a few things together. He was strong. How many of you have anything about him being persistent and persevering or things along those lines? Okay, so those kind of all go together, or they could be separate too. So strong, persistent, persevering. These could be separate, or you could put them together. These three things right here, strong and persistent and persevering. It's possible that they go together, possible that they're separate. What else do we have? Even if it's not on your paper at this point, what are some other things that help them survive? Because you could always go back and look at your evidence differently. Aiden? Brave. He was brave. What else? Thea? Okay, so I'm seeing a couple different ways I could write what you said. We could say relationships, or we could say friendships, or we could say family. All were helpful things. These three things right here could also all go with help from others, but they could be separate categories as well. So like if you have a ton of evidence as help from others, you could like make a category about family help and then another category about help from others. That would be reasonable. Could anybody think of a specific family member who you could easily come up with three pieces of evidence for by himself? Jesse? Uncle. Okay, so you could have a whole separate category that just says that one of his survival factors was his uncle. Without his uncle, he flat out would not have survived. You could say that. Anything else you can come up with? So you got help from others. He was lucky. He was strong. He was brave. There were good relationships, friendships, family, and uncle. Isabel? He learned new things? Sure. I see multiple spots where that could happen, so you might be able to do that. Jesse? Leadership. Give me your example, because I like that one, but I want to make sure we're thinking the same thing. Good. When he had to lead that group of 1,500 boys, he needed good leadership skills, or else maybe they all would have died without his leadership skills. So that his survival was dependent on his ability to lead that whole group together. Trying to think if there's any big things we missed. You guys have all looked at your sheets. Do you see any others? Jaden? Did you say obeying? Okay, so that would be a good one, I think. Sometimes survival is based on our ability to, that's just a big white spot on that screen. Based on our ability to obey / listen to elders. There are times when Selva survives because he listens and does what he's told, and not everybody has that ability. Some of you, when somebody tells you to do something, you automatically do the opposite thing, right? That is, in this case, that would have been a poor survival skill, because when the teacher said run to the bush, you would have said, no, I'm going for my family, and you might not have survived. So Selva's, his ability to listen to and obey his elders, that could be a survival skill. So at this point, we have a nice list of survival factors, and this is the list that you are going to choose from when you go to write your essay. So your first step in writing your essay will be to choose. Does anybody want to take a guess at how many of these I'm going to have you do in your essay?
4, 3.
The answer is going to be 3. Okay. That means that you'll have 3 body paragraphs, 1 for each factor. So you'll start to see how this essay is going to be organized as we go through, but essentially you're going to pick 3 of those things and you're going to write 3 body paragraphs. How are you going to decide which ones of those to choose? Sam?
I have 2 things. So to answer your question, the best one you think, like, one that's the most.
I'll agree with that. Ask your question, then I'll add to that.
You only need like 1 for 3.
So that is part of how we determine which ones we choose, is we're looking for 2 pieces of evidence for each one of the 3. You might not perfectly have that on your chart right now. So what you're going to discover is, let's just randomly say you choose help from others, luck, and persistent or something, that those are your 3. You need to make sure you have 2 pieces of evidence for each of those. Let's say you only have 1 piece of evidence for luck. What could you do? Sam? Sure, see if somebody else has one. Go back to the book and find a new one. Look through your list and see if one of them can actually be recategorized as luck, because you could see it in more than one way. But if you don't have 2 pieces of evidence for each thing, you need to go back and you need to figure out how to get 2 pieces of evidence for each thing. Any questions about that and how to do it? So your step 1 is going to be to come up with your 3 survival factors, and once you're done with that, you get to move on to the rest of it.